What's up, guys? Gabur Aquarius here. Today's video is going to be on the Kabbalistic sphere known as Hod, aka Mercury or Caspit. And the reason why I'm doing Hod this time, despite that in my last video I said that I was going to do Yesod, so the moon essentially, is because Mikael simply just came my way. And as I stated before, I have an open relationship with all of these guys, so all of the archangels essentially that rule over all of these spheres. I know them all, and I met them all essentially, and these guys are involved within my life, whether they visit me or whether they're openly making things happen in my name, such as my patrons and whatnot. And Mikael is one of them. He simply came my way and he wanted me to do his sphere. He asked me if I can please do his sphere next. And I simply agreed. I was like, why not? Because I'm doing this Kabbalistic series at random. I'm not doing things at order. So, I simply just agreed. I was like, why not? So let's go ahead and do so. So, starting things up, Mercury, aka Hod, I'm sorry. So Mercury in the Hebrew Kabbalah is referred to as Hod. Simply just referred to as Hod. Though in mundane Hebrew, it's simply just called Caspit. So Caspit or Kokab. But I also saw in a few sources way back when I first was when I was like a wimpy occultist essentially. I saw a few sources mixing up these names. So I saw a few sources calling Venus either Caspit or Kokab, and then Mercury the same thing. Though in general, Mercury is Caspit, okay? And Venus is Kokab or something else in general. Mercury in mundane Hebrew simply just called Caspit. So that is that. Mercury is the 8th Kabbalistic sphere, so its holy number is 8. So that is pretty much that. And it is being ruled over by none other than beloved Mikael, so Archangel Mikael, essentially the spirit who came my way and wanted me to shoot this video on him and his sphere today. And Mikael, if I'm not mistaken, is amongst the Corey of angels that is referred to as B'nai Elohim, or Bina Elohim, not Bina, B'nai Elohim. It simply just means the sons of God, or something similar. And Mikael's name simply means the strength of God as well. It means the strength of God, or God's strength, essentially. So that is pretty much it. Now, Mercury, as a celestial body, rules over both Gemini and Virgo, or Virgo, as zodiacal signs. And Gemini, to go over some general Gemini characteristics, Gemini deals with day-to-day affairs, so mundane stuff on a day-to-day basis. Short or long distance traveling, as well as astral traveling, could also be implemented into the traveling aspect of Gemini. Literally, because Gemini literally deals with astral traveling as well. Influencing groups of people or individuals, either in a negative way or in a positive way. It deals with finances and having a quick-wit attitude to oneself, so getting things done quickly. And that is essentially it, really. There are a few other minor stuff, but once they all come into mind, by the time I write this article out on each and every individual sphere that I covered in a video, I'm gonna write every single spect of each zodiac sign's character traits as well, and simply just listed in the article itself. But as of now, that's pretty much what came into mind. Now moving on to Virgo, or Virgo, I like to say Virgo. Virgo deals with medical affairs or one's physical health, whether it be both positive or negative, whether you have cancer or literally whether if you're someone who's just healthy. So one's healthiness is at peak proficiency. Intelligence, so how knowledgeable one is overall, and as well as it deals with general gnosis on a cosmic level. So it deals with wisdom and knowledge on the cosmos, on the universe essentially. So on an astrological as well as astronomical approach. Balancing one out in relation to balancing out one's character. Exactness, having an exactness or having a perfectionist attitude to oneself, or a perfectionist approach to things, leaving no stone unturned essentially, in relation to no matter what one does. and having a thorough attitude. So being really thorough, really being really sure of yourself, and etc. And that is pretty much it, really, regarding Gemini and Virgo. So in relation to Mercury, I'm sorry, in relation to Mercury spirits, Mercurial spirits, I've dealt with a small group, honestly. I dealt with a small group of Mercurial spirits. Specifically, I've dealt with, or I've experienced, whether if I have, how do I say this? Whether if I have extension, I'm sorry, what the hell is wrong with me right now? Whether if I've actually delved into working with Mercurial spirits, or whether if I simply just came across them, I have my, I've dealt with guys like Kingu, C3, who else? Mikael himself. I've had Mikael simply just teach me on astrology, simply just show me the ins and outs of astrology when I first got into astrology way back, which he really came through for me. Who else? Spifer as well. Yeah, Spifer. I openly work with a mercurial angel named Spifer right now. He's one of my boosters to the business. So yeah, Spifer is also one of the guys that is mercurial in nature. He's a celestial mercurial angel. And yeah, that is pretty much it. So pagan Babylonian spirit named Kingu, um infernal mercurial angel named C3, Mikael himself, who is an archangel who rules over Mercury as a whole, so Hod as a whole, as well as Spifer. So a minor mercurial celestial angel from Mercury, and that is pretty much it. That is pretty much all, really, in relation to spirits that I've encountered or have worked with openly on a mercurial aspect. So yeah, that is pretty much it. There's nothing really else to be said. So I'm gonna move on to my astral traveling experiences with Mercury itself, and this is gonna be quite the story as well, because this one was pretty funny, honestly. Not pretty funny, but it was simply just unique, honestly. It was intriguing, essentially. It was interesting the way that everything went on. So I visited Mercury recently, let's just say like 2 to 3 weeks ago. And my intent was simply just to stop by and to say hi to beloved Mikael in his sphere, and simply just enjoy his sphere as well, to simply just enjoy my stay in his sphere, and to get a look around via my astral body, because Mercury was one of the spheres as well that I remote viewed way back in the day, but I never specifically dove into Mercury with my astral body. So I went ahead and did so like 3 weeks ago, and upon getting there, it took me a good while for me to be able to finally perceive and see Mercury clearly, because everything was hazy for like about 2 minutes or so. I remember telling my friend this, but yeah, after like 2 minutes or so, everything started taking an image, and I started seeing Mercury clearly. And Mercury is really beautiful, honestly. Okay, before I get into the details of how everything went, I'm gonna go over how Mercury looks in general. So Mercury's description, essentially, how its surface looks, and it goes on and on and on, the sky and everything. And Mercury simply just consists of a nice dirt-like floor. Okay, everything is made out of dirt in nature. So there's a lot of plants around. Okay, but the floor is primarily made out of dirt, essentially. So uh it's like this muddy soft dirt. It's really beautiful. Okay, it's perfect dirt, essentially. It almost looks like you're stepping on like plant soil, essentially, but not necessarily. The dirt specifically, if I were to go into it in detail, essentially, it's simply just shiny. It almost looks like it's wet and fluffy. Okay, this fluffy and wet like dirt that has little weeds poking out, and everything is perfect. It's not like what you would expect on the physical plane. Okay, you would have to deliberately astral travel to Mercury so you can actually see and experience what I'm referring to, or if it all depends on your proficiency, honestly. Okay, it all depends on your proficiency, because not all the time will a sphere look exactly the same as someone else's experience and how they perceive the sphere themselves when they astral travel to the sphere. But in general, the energy still applies. Okay, The same thing that everyone will experience is the energy that they feel on each of these spheres when they astral travel to there. So yeah, in general for me, the dirt was simply just fluffy and wet. It looked wet. It was shiny, and it had little weeds poking out as well. And there were nothing more than these really big, thick trees. Okay, really big trees that they were so huge essentially, that they made me feel small. They made me feel really tiny and small. Okay, these were really ginormous trees, and what else? A bunch of different flowers around and etc. and plants. Um, I didn't really see any oceans or anything like that. I didn't really see any oceans or rivers or lakes or swamps or anything like that. Um, but that was pretty much because I didn't really go too far in Mercury to see anything like that. I was simply just where I was at. I simply just got to it with the guys, and then I started moving into different levels of Mercury. But in general, that's pretty much how everything looked on the surface level. The moment I got there, and the sky was really beautiful. The sky was really gorgeous, honestly. It was nice blue. It was nice sky bluish skies, honestly. Okay, just normal. How do I say this? The same color that the skies look for us, honestly, but the clouds were a bit different. They were more detailed. They were more perfect, essentially, more refined. And you can also see the sun, similar to Jupiter in this sphere, but it was a lot bigger, way bigger than how it is in Jupiter. Literally, the sun is in your face, literally, and that's because Mercury is literally right next to the sun. So the sun is literally in your face. Let's just say, for example, okay, if you were to look to the right, all you see is the sun. Literally, all you see is Tifares. As opposed to when you look to another direction or different directions in general, you'll just see the sky, nice and brilliant and whatnot. And that was pretty much it. So moving on now. I saw Mikhail in the sky. He was simply just watching over Hod as his sphere, making sure that everything is going swell and that everything is okay and whatnot. Everything is accordingly. And I simply called him my way. So he came my way, and I simply just greeted him and whatnot. And you know the usual. I simply just said hi, and he greeted me back as well. And I simply just asked him to give me a tour. So yeah, he went ahead and he went ahead and agreed to my petition, essentially my proposal. But before we did so, I put emphasis on my higher self because my higher self is mercurial. So being there simply just reminded me of my higher self. Literally, a thought came into mind, and I was like, oh, you know, since I'm in Mercury, you know, my higher self is mercurial and blah 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 blah. It's like these little miscellaneous thoughts essentially that were just flowing through my mind, and that's what triggered me to invoke by accident my higher self, essentially my mercurial higher self. And then he simply just came my way. So my higher self's name is Odralde. So it's literally my name in backwards. Instead of Eduardo, his name is Odralde. And Odralde simply just came my way, and he was there, literally, just right next to me and Mikayan. And I simply just said, oh, you know, hi Odralde. I didn't mean to invoke you, but you know how it goes, you know, I occasionally do this and whatnot. And he said, no, it's fine, it's fine. Since Mikhail is gonna give you a tour, can I come along? Can I come alongside the both of you? And that's what was funny. That was what was really interesting, and what essentially poked out in relation to this experience, this Kabbalistic experience, this astral experience, because and all the times that I received a tour, it was literally just me and the guy who was giving me a tour, but I was never accompanied by another spirit who was also coming alongside me by the guide, essentially, the guide who was literally giving me a tour throughout the sphere. So yeah, this tour consisted of me, my higher self, and Mikhail, which was really funny. And Mikhail, I simply told them, hey, you know, my higher self wants to come alongside with us and whatnot. Can he do so? And Mikhail said, yeah, sure, why not? You know, it's not a problem. Just try to keep up, he told them in a jokingly fashion. And my higher self simply just agreed while giggling and whatnot. So we simply just went ahead and we executed the whole tour. Then Mikhail simply just brought me through several levels and layers of Hod itself. And yeah, but I can't really recall the fourth one because we went to the fourth layer. We went really deep into Hod. We went really, really deep. But when I got to the fourth level, essentially everything was really hazy. Everything was hazy because everything was literally just astral. There was nothing there that was distinct that would literally sink into my mind. That everything was literally just, it was different. It's hard to explain, but everything was purely ethereal in this level. In any case, so yeah. Besides that, we went to both the second and the third level of Hod, and the second level simply just radiated nothing more than Gemini aerial energies. Okay, everything was simply just aerial in nature, very windy and whatnot. It was very beautiful. It felt really good. I really love aerial energies because it feels really pleasant. Honestly, it makes you feel really, really balanced, really well balanced, and really peaceful. It's just really settling, honestly. And then after that, me, my higher self, and Mikael, we went to the third level of Hod, of Mercury, essentially. And that was the complete opposite. It was simply just Virgo energies, so Earth-like energies. And that one was really delicious as well because, yeah, Earth energies feels really warm and welcoming. It just feels really welcoming, honestly. It just feels great. It's another positive like energy to undergo or to flow through you, to feel it flowing through you essentially. And that was pretty much it really. We simply made our way back to the surface level, and me, Mikael, and my higher self simply just spent some time just speaking to one another, and it was quite funny because every time when I have a conversation with the guys, essentially, we always start just joking around and whatnot. Not all the time because before back then these guys weren't really like they were not so open with me essentially to the point in which they would act humorous in nature. They would joke around with me essentially. But now since I'm so, how do I say this? Since I've been dealing with these guys for so long, honestly, for so long, then yeah, they simply just opened up to me. Not only that, but because they see the patrons, they see my pages and whatnot. They see the guys that I work with, so they essentially take me serious. They take me seriously, and you know, they simply just opened up more to me than how things were before, when things were just purely business and that was it. So yeah, it was pretty funny, honestly, and we simply just wrapped things up, and that was all. I simply made my way back to my physical form as well as my room, and Mikael was there, and he simply just said, "Thank you, Eduardo, for coming to visit my stay. You're always welcome. So come and visit me sometime whenever you can." I remember that clearly, clear as day. The same thing that I just said right now was what he said, and for some reason, honestly, and yeah. And I simply just agreed. I simply told him, "Yeah, no worries, Mikael. I said something along the lines of, "Yeah, definitely. Whenever I have time, I'll simply just stop by once again and I'll revisit it." And that was pretty much it, honestly. Hold on, let me try and recall everything else. And just for the sake of good measure, honestly, just for the sake of good measure, I'm gonna go ahead and list my visit onto the elemental sphere of fire since Mikael rules it as well. So one day I astral traveled to the element of fire. Okay, so Tejas, aka Bitom. So the elemental sphere of fire in Enochian is called Bitom. But in Hindu or something similar, or yeah, in Hindu it's simply just called Tejas or something similar. I think that's Hebrew. I may be getting the two confused, but in general, I'm simply just going off of the tatuas and whatnot. If you guys are familiar with tatuas, then you guys know the each name for each individual elemental sphere. So Akasha is the ethereal plane or the spiritual plane, the plane in which the plane that simply just stands for the universe essentially. Then Tejas is fire, Vaju is air, Prithvi is earth, and Apas is water. So yeah. So we went to Tejas essentially. I went to Tejas essentially. And while I was in Tejas, I simply saw Mikael and I brought him my way. And I was simply just, this one was pretty just straightforward. I was simply just there at Tejas. And I saw a lot of fiery elemental spirits there. A lot of fiery angels that correspond to fire, um, fiery elemental spirits. What else? Spirits from all over, honestly, that just simply correspond to the element of fire. spirits of that correspond to different natures, whether they be in fallen or infernal or celestial, or elemental or earthly, and it goes on and on and on, or Enochian as well, because Aepio was also there. I almost forgot to mention that as well. The reason why I went to the element of fire that time specifically was because I wanted to host a ritual with Aepio there. I wanted to do it in the elemental sphere of fire since he corresponds to fire. Aepio is an Enochian senior angel of fire that's quote unquote associated with Mars, but that's not the case. He's not Martian because Enochian spirits don't correspond to a celestial body. These guys are different. So I was too tired to execute the ritual physically, so I simply just went ahead and I told Aepio if we can execute it astrally, since I don't have to put in too much work moving my physical body as well as my astral body, and it goes on. And he agreed. He told me that he'll be waiting for me in the elemental sphere of fire. He called it Bitom because he's a Nokian. So I was like, okay, yeah, no problem. So when I got there, he was there waiting for me, as well as Mikael simply just stopped by. And I told Mikael if it's okay if I can simply just host a ritual in his sphere right here. Because me and Aepio have a fiery working going on and whatnot, and I simply just didn't want to do it physically, and it goes on and on and on. And Mikael simply just said, yeah, it's no problem. You can go ahead and do so. No problem. So yeah, we simply just executed the ritual. And once I finished up, when I came back to my room, I was literally on fire. Like I'm not joking, okay? It was really intense. It was literally like if I became one with fire, essentially. Not to sound like some fucking new ager or something like that, but literally, it was just really intense, okay? I just felt nothing more than on fire, and it felt really severe, honestly. I felt the burns all over my physical body as well. But not in a damaging way, because if you never dealt with fiery astral energy, it doesn't hurt you. It's essentially you just feel really hot, to the point in which sometimes you might have to take off your shirt or something to loosen up. And that was the case for me. I had to take off my shirt and everything that I was wearing on top of my torso, essentially. And so yeah, that was pretty much how intense the fiery astral energies that I felt, because Aepio is a hefty guy, number one, and he's fiery in nature. He's an Enochian spirit. He's an Enochian angel. So dealing with these guys, in relation to what element they correspond to, you're gonna feel that shit intensely, because these guys are powerhouses. They're literally like a mini Kaido. So that on top of me executing a ritual in the sphere of Tejas, which is the sphere of fire, Bitom, all of that shit piled up, and it literally, how do I say this? It roasted me astrally. It was literally like I was set on fire via a torch in the astral plane, and that was it. But it felt really empowering though, okay? Despite how hot everything was, it was really empowering. It literally gave me the energy to continue to go on throughout the night. Because after I did so, I didn't want to go back to sleep. I was literally on. I was active like no other. Nothing more than Cardinal, honestly. Oh boy. And yeah, that was pretty much it. This was before I astral traveled to Cather. So if you guys recall my Cather video, my Kabbalistic Sphere video on Cather, then you guys recall the moment in which I told you guys that that before I went to Cather, I was feeling on fire because I just came back from the elemental sphere of fire. And yeah, what I just listed right now, the experience in Tejas was literally just that. This was before I went to Cather, because like I said, I was up all night, and after I finished up all of that, instead of me being tired, I felt a rush, a huge load of energy, to the point in which I wasn't tired anymore, and I could just continue on throughout the night. So I got bored, and I simply just went to Cather, and then that's when the whole Cather video and the experience attached to it therein came from. So yeah, that was pretty much it, honestly. That is pretty much all on Mikael's spheres, all the spheres that he governs and whatnot. So the elemental sphere of fire, as well as Hod as a whole. So that is all, guys. So that is all. Bye bye.